I had been working for Mr. Adrian for over a year, and during that time, I had never encountered him outside of the professional setting. He was a man shrouded in mystery, always composed, always in control. As his personal assistant, I knew he had high expectations, and while I respected his authority, I kept my distance. There was an unspoken boundary between us, professionalism that neither of us dared to cross. However, beneath his sharp demeanor and commanding presence, I began to see a depth in him that intrigued me. His charisma, his intellect, and his unwavering dedication to his work made him someone I deeply admired. Yet, I never allowed myself to think beyond the role of assistant and boss. One evening, everything shifted. It was a Thursday when I had just finished organizing a stack of files when his voice broke through the quiet hum of the office. "Clara, would you join me for dinner tonight?" His usual calm tone carried an edge, a tone that felt more personal than professional. I was caught off guard. A dinner invitation from my boss? It was unexpected. Adrian had always kept his personal life separate from his professional one, so the notion of spending an evening with him outside of work was a concept I hadn't prepared for. However, I quickly composed myself, offering a polite smile. "I'd be honored, Mr. Cole," I responded, trying to sound as composed as possible. "Good. I'll pick you up at 7. Don't dress too formally, it's just a casual dinner," he added before leaving the room. At exactly 7 p.m., a sleek black limousine pulled up to my apartment building. Adrian was already inside, waiting. He looked effortlessly elegant in his tailored suit, his dark eyes glinting under the soft glow of the evening lights. When I stepped into the car, he offered a genuine smile. "You look lovely, Clara," he said. "Thank you," I replied, settling into the seat next to him. The ride began in silence, save for the soft hum of the vehicle. Despite the quiet, a palpable tension filled the air, an unspoken curiosity and anticipation that hung between us as the car drove through the city toward a secluded restaurant away from prying eyes. Adrian led me inside. The restaurant was intimate, dimly lit with flickering candles on each table. We were seated at a private table tucked away in a corner, far from the noise of the dining room. The atmosphere was unlike anything I had expected, a profound sense of intimacy and calm, yet with an undeniable undercurrent of emotion. The quietness stretched between us, but I could feel his gaze lingering on me, studying every expression, every reaction, making me feel both flattered and uneasy. After a brief moment of silence, Adrian finally broke it. "I've been wanting to talk to you about something important," he said, his voice low and steady. "Something that's been on my mind for a while." My pulse quickened. "Of course, Mr. Cole. What is it?" I asked, my voice soft but steady. He paused for a moment, his eyes momentarily fixed on his plate as if gathering the words. "Clara, this is difficult for me to say, but I need to be honest with you." His tone became more serious, and I felt a chill run down my spine. My heart raced. "I've always admired you," he continued, "not just for your professionalism, but for who you are as a person, your kindness, your intelligence, your work ethic. You're someone who truly makes a difference. And I can't tell you how much that has meant to me." A part of me was flattered, but there was an undercurrent of something heavier, something I couldn't fully grasp yet. "My wife and we've been through a lot in the past few years," Adrian said, his voice tight with emotion. "She's a wonderful woman, and I love her deeply, but there's something we've been struggling with. She can't have children. The doctors have told us it's medically impossible for her to carry a child." I stared at him, the weight of his words pressing down on me. The air felt thick, and for a moment, all I could do was absorb the enormity of what he had just shared. "I understand this may be difficult to hear," he continued, his gaze unwavering, "but I don't know who else to turn to. Clara, I need your help." I was frozen, unable to process the request. "You want me to—" "What?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. "I know this is a lot to ask," he said gently, "but I've been thinking about this for a long time. My wife and I have explored every possibility, every option, but nothing has worked. I can't bear to see her so heartbroken. After getting to know you, I believe you're the right person for this. You're strong, capable, and above all, I trust you. The room seemed to close in around me. My mind raced, trying to understand what he was proposing. This wasn't just a professional favor. It was something far beyond what I had ever imagined. Adrian's offer wasn't simply about a task. It was an intimate, deeply personal request. I'm not sure what to say. I managed to say after a long pause, This is a huge decision, Mr. Cole. I've never considered something like this." He gave a slow nod, his fingers brushing lightly over mine as his touch became surprisingly tender. "I understand. I don't want you to feel pressured. I just wanted you to know how deeply I care for you, not just as my assistant, but as someone I trust and admire. I wouldn't ask this of you if I didn't truly believe you are the right person." The silence stretched between us again, heavier than before. My thoughts were a whirlwind of uncertainty and emotion. Could I say yes? Could I carry such a weight, knowing what it would mean not only for me, but for his wife? Yet, part of me felt honored by his trust, by his belief in my strength. "Adrian," I finally said, my voice trembling, "I don't know if I can do this. It's overwhelming. It's not just about carrying a child, it's about everything that comes with it, the responsibility, the emotions. I don't know if I can handle that." He squeezed my hand gently. "I understand. I don't expect you to make a decision tonight, or even soon. I just needed you to know how much I trust you, how much I care." The evening ended in quiet reflection, leaving both of us with more questions than answers. The weight of the conversation lingered, and I knew that whatever path I chose would alter the course of my life, and his. His words resonated deeply within me. For the first time, I began to understand that Adrian's feelings for me extended far beyond mere admiration. He genuinely cared for me in a way I had never fully grasped until this moment. But was that enough? Was I truly prepared to take this monumental step, to embrace something so life-altering? "I need time to think," I whispered softly, our eyes locking in a shared understanding. "This is overwhelming, and I can't process it all right now." Adrian gave a gentle nod, his expression calm and accepting. "Of course. Take all the time you need. Your decision, whatever it may be, will be respected." The remainder of the dinner unfolded in a solemn silence. Adrian's confession hung in the air like an intangible weight. I couldn't stop replaying his words in my mind, and I could sense that he, too, was deep in thought. Neither of us spoke much as we finished our meal, both lost in contemplation, our thoughts overshadowing the simple act of eating. It felt as though the world had slowed down. Time moved differently in those moments. I could hear the rhythmic pounding of my heart in my chest as I struggled to make sense of everything. What had just transpired? Adrian, the man I had worked for and deeply respected, had just asked me to embark on a path that would irrevocably alter my life. How could I even fathom accepting something so profound? Yet, there was an undeniable warmth in his eyes, a trust that spoke volumes. He had trusted me with something so significant, and that alone made me pause. After what seemed like an eternity, we stood from the table in silence. Adrian didn't offer much as we walked to the waiting limousine. The night air was crisp, the city lights shimmering faintly in the distance. Inside the car, my mind raced. I settled into my seat, trying to calm my thoughts, but nothing seemed to ease the whirlwind within me. My life was poised at a crossroads, and the magnitude of Adrian's request was slowly sinking in. Could I really go through with it? Was it the right choice? Fear and confusion coexisted in my heart, growing stronger with every passing moment. Adrian sat beside me, offering quiet presence but no words. The silence stretched between us like a heavy curtain, as if we were both waiting for something, although neither of us knew exactly what. I could sense his intention was to give me space, to allow me to process what had just happened. This was far more than an ordinary conversation or request. It was a life-altering decision, and I felt the weight of it deeply. The city lights flickered by the window, blurring into a tapestry of color as my thoughts spiraled. I couldn't ignore what Adrian had asked. The magnitude of it was too overwhelming to brush aside. But I also didn't want to make a choice that could irreversibly change everything. I spent the entire ride in deep reflection, trying to weigh my options, constantly reminded of Adrian's request and the trust he had placed in me. If I chose to accept, my life would never be the same. My relationship with Adrian would transcend any boundaries I had once known. Yet, if I said no, would I regret it? The more I pondered, the deeper the doubt and anxiety settled within me. This was uncharted territory, a journey I hadn't anticipated taking, and one I wasn't sure I was fully prepared for. As the limousine came to a halt at my apartment, Adrian gently turned to me, his expression steady but empathetic. "Clara, I don't expect an immediate answer. Take your time. Whatever you decide, I will respect it." I nodded, offering him a small, tremulous smile, though my heart still raced with uncertainty. "Thank you, Adrian. I need to think about it." He said nothing more, only offering a simple nod before stepping out of the car, holding the door open for me. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt as though I was standing on the precipice of something monumental, something that could redefine my life in ways I could never fully grasp at that moment. That night, I lay in bed with a mind buzzing with questions. Hours passed in the dark, my thoughts racing endlessly. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity, I made my decision. It wasn't easy, but deep down, I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I called Adrian and told him I was ready to meet him. My mind had been wrestling with the enormity of it all, but now, a sense of clarity emerged. I walked into his office with a quiet resolve that surprised even me. The weight of my choice was palpable, but I had fully embraced it. "I've thought about what you asked me," I began, my voice steady despite the tremor beneath it. "And I'm ready to help. I'll do it." Adrian's eyes locked onto mine, searching them carefully, as if making sure he heard me correctly. "Are you sure?" he asked softly. "I'm sure," I affirmed. With those two words, everything began to shift. A few days later, we arranged to meet at a hotel. The atmosphere was charged with unspoken emotions, a tension that could no longer be ignored. It wasn't just about the agreement anymore, it was about what we were stepping into together. Walking into the hotel room, my heart pounded, a storm of anticipation and apprehension swirling within me. This wasn't something I had planned, nor something I ever thought would unfold. Yet, here I was. Adrian sat calmly, his gaze steady, though I could detect the faint unease flickering beneath the surface. We exchanged small talk to diffuse the heaviness, but it was clear that things were moving forward. Beyond the comfort of surface interactions, the evening unfolded quickly, and before I knew it, what began as mere conversations and contemplation grew more intimate, more tangible. The connection between us deepened, both strange and comforting in its intensity. It felt as though this moment was inevitable, something destined to happen. Days turned into weeks, and life continued on. Yet, inside me, something was shifting. I began to notice subtle changes, a missed period, a strange shift in how my body felt. First, I dismissed it, blaming stress or something else. But deep down, I knew better. Until one day, during a doctor's visit, my worst fear and newfound reality was confirmed. I was pregnant. My body, once so familiar and in control, had begun to speak a different story, a story that would forever tie me to Adrian in ways I hadn't anticipated. First, the news shattered me. How could this have happened so quickly? Was I prepared for this? The fear and uncertainty were overwhelming. Yet as the initial shock subsided, something else began to rise, a fierce, unexpected strength. I wasn't merely scared, I was powerful. My life was shifting in ways I hadn't anticipated, and though the path ahead was unclear, I knew that this journey would redefine who I was. Life has a way of taking unexpected turns, and never in my wildest dreams did I anticipate where my journey would lead, especially after Adrian and I agreed to this life-changing arrangement. Everything unfolded so rapidly, leaving me breathless and unable to fully grasp the magnitude of what was happening. Just when I thought I was beginning to find balance in this new reality, Adrian surprised me once again with a decision I hadn't seen coming. One afternoon, he called me into his office. His expression was calm yet resolute, and the air between us was thick with unspoken emotions. I took a seat, my heart pounding, feeling an ache of anticipation knotting my stomach. Then he spoke, his voice steady, yet laced with care. "Clara," he began, "I've been thinking about this for some time." His gaze was gentle but serious. "I want you to stop coming to work. You've already done so much, and I don't want you to stress yourself any further. You've carried this life for so long, and it's time for you to focus on yourself and the baby. I'll make sure you're taken care of. Your salary will continue as promised, and I'll find someone else to fulfill your role." My breath hitched. "Stop coming to work?" I whispered, disbelief clouding my voice. He nodded. "Yes, you're carrying my child. Clara, that's your priority now. I'll handle everything else." A whirlwind of emotions surged through me: relief, gratitude, and a deep sense of loss. My job had been a defining part of who I was, but Adrian's conviction was unwavering. In the weeks that followed, I embraced this new chapter. To my surprise, my salary continued without interruption, just as he had assured me. First, it felt surreal, living without the constant demands of work while still being financially secure. But Adrian ensured I lacked nothing. He checked in regularly, offering support and warmth that transcended mere responsibility. As my pregnancy advanced, I felt more connected to this new phase of life. Adrian was always there, holding my hand through the discomfort, excitement, and everything in between. His presence brought a sense of calm that I hadn't known I needed. And then, when the day finally arrived, and I held our child in my arms, the flood of emotions was overwhelming. The moment was life-altering, a profound shift in everything I once thought to be certain. Adrian's joy was palpable. He visited us often, bringing thoughtful gifts and assurances that felt almost too generous to believe. "Clara," he said one evening as he cradled our newborn, "I want you to know something. I will take care of you and our child for as long as I live. No matter what, you will always have everything you need. That's my promise." True to his word, Adrian's support never wavered. Years passed, and as our child grew, so did my sense of security. I knew that no matter what life threw at us, he would be there. However, just when I thought I had experienced all that life had to offer, Adrian surprised me once again. One evening, he invited me to a private dinner at a secluded venue. It had been some time since we had spent such intimate time together, and the anticipation was almost overwhelming. Over a candlelit table, as we shared a quiet meal, Adrian's gaze softened into a tender look I hadn't seen before. "Clara," he began, taking a deep breath, "I've been reflecting on everything we've been through. You've given me something I never thought I'd have, a child. You've become an essential part of my life, and I don't want you to merely exist in the background anymore." I blinked, trying to process his words. "I want you to be my wife," he continued, his voice steady and sincere. "Not just the mother of my child, but my second wife. I've spoken with my first wife about this, and we've come to an agreement. She understands and is comfortable with this decision." The room seemed to spin for a moment. Marriage? It was an idea I had never considered, let alone imagined with Adrian. Yet, as I looked into his eyes, I saw the depth of his feelings and the certainty in his words. "Adrian," I whispered, searching for clarity, "are you sure about this?" "I've never been more certain," he assured me. We spent hours that evening discussing what this decision would entail. By the time the night ended, we both understood the magnitude of the commitment we were about to make. It wasn't the life I had envisioned for myself, but it felt right. As we stepped out into the cool night air, I felt a newfound sense of peace. Adrian had changed my life in ways I never thought possible, and together, we were embracing this next chapter with open hearts and unwavering trust. Thank you for taking the time to watch our videos. If you find the content useful and interesting, don't forget to like, share, and especially subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. Our channel will always update attractive, inspiring, and useful content for you. Click the bell icon to receive notifications as soon as there are new videos. Your support is the biggest motivation for us to continue to develop. Thank you and see you in the next videos.